Welcome to another edition of the Empower Hour. I am Al Kumar.
And I am Hanifa.
And we are your hosts each and every week, where we come to you with impactful topics of discussion that affect our everyday lives. Today will be no different. Today is going to be a steamy topic. Interesting.
Yes, very interesting.
Hanifa got us into this family.
Yes, I did. And those of you guys that follow us know we've never braced this topic, so it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
I'll take that one out.
See, I throw you in there, right?
That's all right.
So today in the studio with us is Dr. Lavonne Shaw.
Hey. Welcome. First time to the show. We welcome you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've known Miss Shaw for some years now. Yeah, it's been a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of found out actually we were at a function, and then she just mentioned it to me because I had my earrings were on action, and we just kind of got into a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always noted that I would love to bring her on the show. And so last year we had talked about it, and then your husband passed, and then I was like, okay, let's bring her on this year, and try to bring her on. And so here she is today, and I checked out the website, and I got even more excited because I was like, yes, she is like seasoned in this and comfortable in it. So welcome again, Miss Shaw. I call you Miss Shaw, but Dr. Lavonne Shaw.
And what are we talking about today?
We are talking about sexual intimacy. Why is this still a taboo today? Can it make or break relationships, and in what ways? And actually get some tips from Miss Shaw in how to spice up your relationship if you feel like it's a little dull. So we will cover a whole lot today in these little 45 minutes. Yes. So Miss Shaw, welcome again. So what we're going to ask you to do is just introduce yourself to our listening audience. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
Who am I? What do I do now? You got to keep me on track.
Yes, we will.
I wear a lot of hats. So good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me here. So excited to talk with your audience today. So my name is Reverend Dr. Lavonne Shaw. So they can call me Dr. Shaw or Lavonne. I don't get caught up in the titles, but I do like to share it because I am an ordained minister, and I am the erogenous coach. And a lot of people say the two don't go together, but what you fail to realize that sex is in the Bible. It's all throughout the Bible. So I take it, I don't take it lightly that I've been assigned to go throughout the world and preach and teach about sex, passion, romance, and intimacy. So that's what I do.
Okay.
And I brought a few of my books with me. My first book that I wrote is Sex Between the Sheets, What God Allows. So it's a Christian sex guide. So it tells you what to do, how often to do, when to do it, and there's a lot of homework in there.
Okay.
And also my next book, my latest books, is The Marriage Bed Revival, 21 Consecutive Days of Intimacy, No Penetration Required. So I have a blast doing what I do, and we're going to have fun for the next 45 minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So tell us why this work? Why? What made you take interest in it? How do you know that this was your purpose, like you just mentioned? How did you get so interested in this particular area?
Well, number one, I love sex.
Okay.
I think it's wonderful.
I agree.
And I'm very free with it. But originally I started as a wedding coordinator.
Okay.
And I was coordinating weddings. I did the whole gamut. I wasn't ministering yet, so I couldn't marry you, but I can organize the wedding, organize the bachelorette party or the bridal shower. And most of my clients were in the church, so they were too shy or too embarrassed to go to the sex stores and pick up whatever for them. So I would run down there and get it and give it to them, but then they were calling me because they didn't know how to use it. So I would give them the instructions how to. So after a while, one bride would tell another bride, another bride would tell. For years, it was just referral only. So after that, one day I lost my good job, and my husband told me I could cry for about 3 days and then go through the house, get all my notes, and take the time to write my book. And that's what I did 10 years ago, March 10 years ago.
Wow.
And came out with Sex Between the Sheets, What God Allows.
Wow.
And it's taken me around the world.
Beautiful stuff. So the books I imagine have been a huge success.
They are. I'm actually about to release the workbook to it. So to go in and do more intense Bible studies in the church and the different groups.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll do one-on-one. I'll do a conference. I'll do thousands. It depends on the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, now you're called the erogenous coach.
Yes.
Please tell us what does that even mean? For those of us that don't even know what the word erogenous means.
Erogenous, so eros is the physical love of God. So that's your physical part. So that's why we got the erogenous. And it was more sexy to say than to say sex coach.
Okay.
But it challenged you to think like, I think I know what that means, but what is it? So it provokes a conversation.
Yes.
And a healthy conversation. Because one thing I go around trying to teach or implement that sex is not dirty and sex is not nasty. And so if you put a positive spin to it, then you'll also enjoy it. Because a lot of times, one reason why a lot of women don't enjoy intimacy because you were taught it was dirty, it was nasty, it's not something you do. It's be in the dark, under the covers, you know. If you make it a negative connotation, then that's how you think of it. But if you make it beautiful and positive the way God created it to be.
You mentioned early on that you were very free in your sexuality. Can you describe for us like what that means? Because I guess that could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So you tell us, what does that mean for you?
I enjoy it. Yeah, I mean, when I say I enjoy it, I love it. I mean, I feel from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. I feel it. Whatever I feel in the passion of making love. If I want to scream, scream. You know, you want to yell his name, yell his name. A lot of husbands complain. She just lays there like a dead fish, and I couldn't grasp that. I couldn't grasp that. But once I started talking to women and understanding how they felt about it, so once I introduced them to some things that are in the book and some things about themselves, once you start loving yourself, you'll free yourself. And then once you're free, you're able to embrace and take in your spouse, your partner.
So there's a self-love aspect involved.
Yes,
Definitely has to happen.
Has to happen.
Okay. Okay. Why are, I don't want to say sex coaches, or why is an erogenous coach important? What have you seen as far as the need for what you do? Is there like a big need for it? Or, okay, what have you seen?
A chapter in my book, I had a young lady that I ministered to prior to marriage. She wanted to be celibate and prepare and wait for her spouse to come. She got married, called me and said, I don't want to have sex. What? You're married, that's what your goal was, but I don't want to have sex. So I said, okay, this is what we need to do. We planted those seeds of celibacy, now we have to dig them up and plant seeds of passion, of intimacy, of desire, bring them back, because God created you to have it. And you might want to know how I know God created you to have it. In the church, they say, sex is for procreation.
Yes.
That's all they say. Sex is for procreation. Okay. Well, God designed the clitoris. The clitoris has nothing to do with procreation.
Absolutely.
The clitoris is all about pleasure, and that's what I teach. You need to know what you have and what you work with. You're sitting on a gold mine. You're sitting on a volcano. You need to let it erupt, and you need to let it erupt often, because sex is good for you. When it releases those endorphins and I forget it, pheromones and all that good stuff.
Serotonin, all of that.
All of that. Sometimes, child, stuff people say to you will roll off your back because you've released some of that stuff. And if you need some help, a yoni egg, honey, you be walking with your yoni egg because you walk differently when you have your yoni egg in. They be fussing at work, you be like, because your yoni egg be working.
Yes. Family. If you're just tuning in, we are here with with Lavonne Shaw, the Dr. Lavonne Shaw, and we're talking about sexual intimacy in our relationships. Give us a call, 240-455-5934, if you have any questions for Dr. Lavonne here. In this age of what I call an abundance of sexual deviancy, how do you toe the line between just, like you said, having fun with sex and being free with sex without taking on a deviancy around it?
But what is deviancy? Tell me.
Pedophilia,
perversion.
Right.
The perversion part of
Right.
it. Well, that is wrong. Let me just say that is wrong. Mm-hmm. What I'm trying to teach, because the clientele I deal with don't enjoy sex. Mm-hmm. I've had couples who are going to church together, and going home, going to separate bedrooms. Mm-hmm. I have people who don't want to be touched. Mm-hmm. I have couples who have never kissed since their wedding. One chapter in my first book, they've been married for 90 days and hadn't consummated their marriage. Mm-hmm. That's who I'm dealing with. Okay. And it's so many people there. So, but it is wrong. And a lot of people turn to different things because they're too afraid to share with their spouse. Mm-hmm. Even role playing. Mm-hmm. They're scared to share with their spouse their fetish. Your husband likes feet. You trying to go get a foot massage, your husband likes feet, go on, let him know it. Mm-hmm. Let him rub your feet, but you don't know because he's never shared. That I would love to rub your feet every Friday or every day,
Is that because sometimes what we call there's a negative connotation attached to fetishes, so people often don't share with each other.
They feel embarrassed.
Yeah, there's some shame attached.
And they also don't feel safe enough. But if you're not safe with your partner,
right,
to say, I have a foot fetish and I think your feet are beautiful. Can I touch them and oil them every day? I work hard. I would love a foot rub every day, at least once a week. Again, the importance of really just touch. Yeah. The importance of touch. One of the many jobs I do, I foster teen moms. I also do hospice care. And I went into hospice because I really wanted to be a masseuse, and I wanted to specialize in full-figured people. Mm-hmm. And one young lady said, well, why did you want to do that? And I said, because as an overweight woman, people don't touch you. Mm-hmm. They shun from that. Mm-hmm. And you lose a lot of life because you're not touched. Mm-hmm. One thing, when you put someone in a senior citizen home, one reason why they pass away is because no one's touching them. No one's talking to them. When you're touched, it releases oxytocin. And that is a part to stimulate you. But if no one's touching you, it's not being released.
Babies will die if they're not touched.
Babies will die.
They will die.
Adults will die.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that part, but definitely there's experiments that's been done where babies in orphanages, they die because of no touch. Yeah.
And I'm thinking about with intimacy, like if with a woman is more easily to be aroused if she's touched versus just going straight to the act.
If she's touched.
So,
But you could touch her all day. You could send her lovely notes in a text.
Without physically touching her. Thank you.
No penetration required. Ladies, you could do it too. You could take a picture of your lace panties, put them on the steps, whatever. Say, I'm already started. They all,
teasing. Yeah.
Yes, build it up. Just get them going.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you listen to you? Yes. How do you deal in a situation where, like, say for instance, you just described panties, taking pictures, but your significant other's not into that.
Good question.
They're not aroused by that. They're even they shun that kind of like attention.
You're doing the most.
Right.
You're doing.
Right.
But again, it's probably what he was taught, that it wasn't healthy, it wasn't good. Now men are taught that it's dirty too.
Yeah.
Not just women. Even though they encourage men to have sex prior to marriage, and they tell women to wait, but they're still taught that it's dirty and you shouldn't do this with your spouse, do this with this young lady. No, if you learn to experience with your spouse, your partner, you'll make it healthy. But again, I recommend that you go out to dinner and sit side by side and get a pad and write down what's your fantasy, what's your desire, what would you like to do? You know, this right here, there's 21 consecutive days of intimacy. Suggestions,
things to do. Okay.
Just suggestions of what to do, where to do. You know, y'all please. When I tell you, me and Mike were in the car and at the movie, good child, please.
Husband.
And my husband was a big boy.
Yeah. So what are some of the causes you think of lack of intimacy in relationship? Except for you touched on the shame, and I also think you mentioned something with the men. I also think that there's a certain perception that women get when they're in tune with that sexual side of them. Men also receive those messages too. So you go into a relationship thinking, I'm not doing this because he probably gonna think like, I done been around the town. So yeah, you try and dumb down your sexuality like I'm not gonna give him too much. But what are some of the other things, other factors that contribute to the lack of intimacy in relationships?
Again, I think it's the lack of education. And because you're not free or learning to be free, and there are a lot of people who don't know how to be free. So once you start communicating that with each other and learn each other, the couple that didn't consummate their marriage for 90 days, what I had to start them on doing was allow him to bathe you. No talking, just bathe. Preferably under candlelight, really no music. Because I need him to hear when you moan and groan, what tickles you, what bathes you,
in silence,
what excites you. Let him dry you off and then oil your skin down. If you don't still feel excited and want to make love, go ahead to bed, it's okay. Because the next day you're going to bathe him. Again, no music, but you're going to listen to how he responds. Men are aroused by their ears, their eyelashes, the bottom of their neck, the back of their necks. But we forget that. We just go straight for the penis too. Men like to be kissed. And I told one couple, kiss each other with your tongue and to lick your partner's teeth. And I'm like, what?
Right.
So,
I'm like, what? Right.
But that means you're taking time to feel each other. Those are unexplored areas.
Exploring, okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. Okay. I'm learning.
I like the tub idea.
Yeah.
I like that
in that quietness.
Yeah.
I just listening to you even talk about it, I'm like, that's sexy.
Yeah.
You hearing the water drip, like that's a lot of stimulation going on.
Right.
And you're right, like sometimes people don't even, like, cause sometimes people turn music on to have sex. You know what I mean? Loud. Loud music. And so it's like to have it in the silence. You hear, that's stimulation in itself.
But you also hearing the breathing pattern. Because if you touch in a certain area that you like, your breathing will increase, and then it'll calm down. If he's hitting the right spot, it's just like, you don't know. And sometimes you don't know yourself because you've never been touched there. And as life goes on, your spots change. Your area changes. I encourage husbands whose wives who have vasectomies, kiss her scars. Because she's embarrassed by them. She's hurt by them. But if you love and embrace her scars, that will build her self-confidence. It's the little things that's intimate.
Would you say it takes a certain level of studying each other to kind of know, like you talked about sitting next to each other and writing down what are your fantasies, like you kind of want to know what turns you on, what turns you off. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be nibbling in your ear and I'm irritating you. I mean, yeah. So that's important to know, like, because you putting in all that work and that person is not moved at all. So it's really just having the conversation, and then in those conversations being honest, right?
Yes.
Like if you're asking that person, I'm asking so that I can utilize this in the future, right? So my other question is like, what are some ways intimacy can actually revive. You talk about revive a relationship. What have you seen? Because you talk about a couple of cases, and tell us about some of the turnarounds that you tell, like testimonies. Give us some
The
testimonies.
testimony I've had when one couple went to separate bedrooms, they're happily now in the same
Look at that.
They share the same bed. The couple that I talked about where the wife didn't want her husband because of the celibacy, now she was married, they now have 3 children. So they're into
They were doing something. Yeah.
So it works, but you just have to know how to work it. And again, it comes from communication. It just comes from talking it and not being afraid that they're going to take this information and use it against you.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Trust.
Trust.
Yeah.
But it's part of the relationship and building it up. You know, feeling okay enough to share. True, like when you said if you're kissing on his ear, and if he has too much saliva when he's kissing your ear, you're like, ooh, you know. But if you tell him to slow down and, you know, not as much moisture, you know, you just have to give him instructions. You know? And then there are some men who want to be dominated, you know. So again, he might not want it all the time, but he might want you to dress up in a leather bustier, you know, and some high heel boots or whatever. If you can't do it, at least try and take a picture in it, you know, so he'll have something sexy in the bedroom of him, his fantasy that is gonna come one day, but you have to build up.
Is this building up happening prior to being married? And because I'm thinking, I mean, just thinking about just within the church itself and that whole courting process, and you know, there's a lot of restrictions involved there. I mean, of course, it varies from person to person, but people may have restrictions: no kissing, no touching, no. So is this just straight conversation? That's the build up, or are you talking about build up while you're in the relationship? There's already sexual intimacy. So there's a building up too, because you're talking a lot about trust. And like I'm hearing that, and I'm like, you have to really trust the person you're intimate with to completely let go.
Most of my clients are already married.
Okay.
Most of 99% of my clients are already in the relationship, already married. So they're having issues and challenges in the bedroom because of that. So now I have to teach you how to build trust, how to do communication. So that's the majority of my clients. I do premarital counseling, but the majority of my clients are already married.
That's amazing that you get married and you don't trust that person with your body. That's very interesting to me. Like I'm listening like, wow, okay.
So I would imagine it's more women that come to you for your services than men, or am I wrong?
You're wrong.
Really? Oh, wow.
And one thing about why I know my business has been blessed, I don't talk about other couples. You know, I got permission, I changed names in the book, but I can be in the room with 1,000 people, and I've been in maybe 300 bedrooms, but I will never tell you that. So if your husband comes to me and we talk about it, I encourage him to bring the couple together. I'll give them the book, they get homework assignments and whatnot, and let them know.
Oh, interesting.
I have to say, Ms. Shaw, I was taken aback. I was reading something and the research out there on how many women have not had orgasms. It blew my mind. I said, are you kidding me? I'm talking about different age range. I'm talking about women in their 40s never had an orgasm. I've had many sexual partners, but never had an orgasm. What are some of the barriers? What that causes that?
The oldest woman that I worked with was not taught. She said, her mom said, basically, the line from The Color Purple, lay there and do your job. So that's what she was taught. She had children who had children, and their children were in college when I met her. And we were talking. And at the time, I had a lubricant, and I gave her a little sample. She came back the next day and bought the whole jar. She came back the next week and bought a case to give her friends. When I saw her husband again a few weeks later, he came up and shook my hand and gave me a hug and said, I have a different wife in my bed. I had no idea she had never had an orgasm. If you don't know, you can't miss it. But once you have one, once you have an orgasm,
Yeah.
curl your toes and all that good stuff.
You're unstoppable at that point.
Yes.
Yeah, you can rule the world.
But if you've never had one, if you've never experienced,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm so serious when I found that out. I was just like, wow. And so of course there's a lot of commentary around where, but is it us, like women who are not experiencing orgasms, okay? Is it on them to make that happen? Is it an issue of them maybe perhaps not knowing their own bodies? Or is it up to the men to make it happen?
it can be both because you have to be stimulated. And women, we have a tendency to be more stimulated by our mind.
Mentally.
And it takes you a little longer because you gotta make sure you can be sitting there making love like, did I leave the stove on? Did I turn the alarm on? You're not even into it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's just going for it and you checking the house. You doing a security scan of the house. You need to bring your mind with your body. So he needs to start earlier. You know, babe, this is what I'm gonna do to you as soon as I get there. You know, I need you to get ready. And sometimes husbands or partners, we need you to put the kids to bed, to clean the kitchen, so I can go have a long bath with some rose petals, and I can get ready. You know, I tell you put your yoni egg in. I tell you to use the lubricant during the day. Why would I want to stimulate my clitoris during the day? Honey, because I'm telling you, when you stimulate your clitoris with the lubricant during the day, you don't worry about a lot of stuff that happens in the day. And by the time you get home, he can't even get in the door and you pouncing on him. And I have a lot of complaints from husbands because the wife won't initiate.
Really?
Won't initiate. And she won't.
Okay, and you're saying a lot of men like that.
Yes.
Prefer that.
Right. They want to feel wanted too.
Yeah.
They want to feel desired too.
Yeah. Now, how do you handle a situation where, say, I read recently, help me out, what's the proper word to use when the men need the purple pill? Because
Erection.
Okay,
Blue
so
pill?
is it blue?
Oh, it's blue.
Okay, see, I'm wrong either there.
Like Viagra type thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you advise those who can't, for whatever reason, medical or age or whatever, can't receive a proper erection, but are still interested in being, you know,
A young lady,
sexually involved?
I have a lot of stories. So one young lady came up to me and she was not free to enjoy her husband because of the church. And he had some type of surgery, whatever they did, they nicked something, so he could not hold an erection long.
Okay.
But he could have one, but couldn't hold it long. So they referred or went to oral sex. And so she said, I would do it, but I would feel so dirty and ashamed because that's how I was raised. But once I've spoken to you, talked to you, read your book, now I can enjoy my husband. And then the few moments when he can get an erection, that he'll just top her off that way. But now they can enjoy each other that way. So she said, now she can really take him in. You know? But again, it's my assignment. I take it personally to go around the world to tell you, making love is beautiful. It's not nasty. It's not dirty.
How much does stress play a part? Because you have relationships where everyone is going about their business, kind of encountering their own stresses outside of their homes, and then they have to come home. So how much does stress play a part in the lack of intimacy in relationships? And how do we counter that?
We complain, oh, I've had a stressful day. But the biggest stress reliever is an orgasm, you know. Having sex and being intimate. Well, my friends know, ain't no secret, my friends know. Me and Mike could fight. We going upstairs, make love, and we finish fighting later. And a lot of times later didn't happen because we done forgot what we were fighting about. You know, so if you just keep it a priority.
Okay.
You know, well, I'm like, dude, I don't care how mad you are. We make love tonight. You know, I've had a good day. You know, so this little hiccup. You know, but again, you lose 720 calories. You burn 720 calories when you make love. Come on, anybody want to
Cardio,
Yeah, let's
huh?
lose some weight together.
Is it true or is it a myth that men like sex more than women?
It is a myth.
Thank you. I'm so glad you said that.
It is a myth. Raise your hands, ladies, if you like sex. Come on, come on. I know y'all did Facebook land, YouTube land. Raise your hands.
Like when your elbow wouldn't even left your side. She like the church finger. Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, I was at a conference this year, and the guy was teaching, and he said men like sex more than women, and it wasn't my session, and I was like, okay, Lavonne, do not take over the class, it's not yours. So I was sitting there, and I was like, can I say something? And he was like, what? I was like, that's not true. And then the whole room went up, and he was like, what?
Why do people believe that though?
Because that's what they were taught.
Because to this day, you still hear people still think that.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it possibly because as women we supposed to be more reserved, we supposed to be more ladylike, and
But
we
you
don't.
can still be a lady and love sex.
Yeah.
But we've been taught that the two don't really go together.
Right. So we need to dig up those bad seeds and plant healthy seeds that you can still be vocal and still be a lady, still be a preacher, still be a teacher, and still have a bomb orgasm.
Now, what happens in situations where you have a couple and one person might be interested in maybe doing certain things in the bedroom and the other person is very uncomfortable? Would you say that person should keep insisting that this happens, or is there a way to kind of approach this? Or is there a line that has to be drawn sometime where it's just like, no, it's not going to happen?
Well, I always imply scripture here. How can the two walk together unless they agree? So you need to sit down and talk about it. I have couples who one wants anal sex and the other one doesn't. Now check this out. I've had wives who want anal sex and the husband doesn't want to try. So if he's uncomfortable, don't force them. But you can do different things to introduce other things. I didn't know all the ramifications for today, so I didn't bring toys. But I have a toy store, because the church is so deep and they can't stand the word toys. I call them marital enrichment tools. I'll meet you where you are. So the marital enrichment tools. So there's a butt plug. So if she likes that sensation, then you can use that on her so she can still get the same sensation without you penetrating with your penis.
Wow. No, if you guys are tuning in, we are talking to Dr. Lavonne Shaw, the Reverend Dr. Lavonne Shaw, about sexual intimacy in your relationships. Can you talk to us a little bit about all three books and what they can expect?
This one starts off. This is a compilation of myself and one passed away, several other ladies and one gentleman. And this is Sister, I've Been There Too, but I Came Back to Get You. So this is different stories about their lives. So my chapter is Through the Eyes of a Real Cover Girl. So it's a testimony of my first marriage and how my first husband left me for a man. That's that one. And then these are my personal books. Sex Between the Sheets, What God Allows. And it's a sex guide. It gives you good details of what to do, how to do, when to do it, how often to do it. Some of the homework is red hot butt naked sex day. Gives you instructions of what to do all day. Even how to send the kids out to school and come back and have different sessions. And then this is my latest book, The Marriage Bed Revival Challenge. It's 21 consecutive days of intimacy, no penetration required. We even have song suggestions for you, down to the details of what to do every day.
Where can they find your work?
All my stuff is on my website.
Okay, which
is Erogenous Coach, EROGENOUS Coach, COACH.com.
And we'll make sure we get that information out on the streams too, guys. So do you see a lot of cases where relationships actually end because of sex? Or lack thereof.
The lack thereof. Normally when they come to us, we've had pretty good success rate. I can't recall, not even off the top of my head, a couple that we work with that has broken up, but I know they do.
Mm-hmm.
I know they do, because I've met people who have said to me, I wish I knew you my first marriage. I'd still be married to her. I'd still be married to him. You know, I didn't know this. I didn't know I could do that. I had one gentleman who told me on his wedding day, his mother told him the only position to have your wife in is the missionary position. That's not true.
And the age groups of those that you work with, do you work with a specific age group, or are they the whole range?
We had 3 couples win this challenge who did it 21 consecutive days. The oldest couple, the husband was 80. The wife was 72.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay.
I'm assuming they probably been married for years, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, I was just gonna say before we go off the air, I just
We
wanted you to
finished?
kind of,
Oh,
we
no.
almost, not yet, almost, we got about 5 minutes. I just wanted you to kind of like, for people who are listening, and maybe they're on the brink of possibly walking out of a relationship, men, women, whoever is listening, like what are some of the things, how would they know that they've reached a point to where they need to seek help outside of themselves?
When you keep bumping your head and you keep doing the same thing over and not getting new results, that's when you need to go outside and ask for help. Therapy is not wrong. Getting coaching isn't wrong. And that's why I didn't put counselor, I put coaching, because I just encourage you to try different things. A lot of times you might have to even go outside of your bedroom, and I mean like to a hotel. You know, I love marrying couples, and especially if they buy a new house. And one thing I'll tell them is go and make love in every room in your house, especially before you get furniture. And don't forget the garage, because if he's pulling in the garage on a bad day and the door goes up, he'll remember, oh, we made love over there. And then the day's not that bad, you know. But I mean every room, the tub, the shower.
Go ahead and sage the whole house. Yeah, sage the whole house. Just go ahead and bless the whole house.
Is there some other advice that we haven't talked about
Yeah.
that you may want to share with people? Some simple tips that they can do in their everyday lives that'll.
Well,
assist them?
when Hanifa told me about the topic, I really focused on touching. My husband would always reach for my hand when he was driving. You know, my husband would do playlists. And he was a DJ, so he would do a special playlist, especially if he knew that we were going to be in a car, you know. And there were, when I learned to pay attention and get off my phone and start working, and to listen to what he was playing, there were love songs about how he felt about me. So you could send a little love song. You know, this is how I feel about you today. I'm just thinking of you today. But remember your spouse, your partner, every day. You know, send them a little something, just thinking about you. Or I played a game on social media, and I'm thinking about doing it again. And I will put up the woodpecker, and it meant that wives need to go play with their husband's pecker. You know, I will put up an oyster that had pearls in it, and that meant that men need to go stimulate their wives' clitoris. So you can send him a woodpecker. I got something for you when you come home. You know. You just stuff like that to keep it alive, to keep it fresh, to keep it going. Find different places to make love. We have a calendar, not a calendar, a world map, and it's, what's the word? You can scratch off.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Scratch off every place you've made love in the world, so you know you got to fill it all up.
Okay.
You know.
So it sounds like sex begins. I'm listening to you, and I'm hearing like sex begins outside of the bedroom. Pretty much. It starts like when you're talking about sex and stuff like that, like the stimulation leading up.
Like
sex is like the climax of
Right.
the day. You know what I mean?
Day.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing you saying. I'm like, yeah, because like Alkema was saying, you don't just, you said nothing to me all day. And you come in like Superman and Buzz like, and I'm supposed to be like, oh baby, no, because I've been taking care of these kids all day. And I ain't heard nothing from you. Not a flirt, not nothing. So it sounds like it's stuff that has to be built up, and sex is kind of like the climaxes of it all.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing that even if you, heaven forbid, don't even get to the climax part, some of the things you're talking
Yes.
about would help the relationship
Period.
out in and of itself.
Yes.
You know?
Period.
Yes.
Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Family, we don't have much time. We have like 3 minutes left. We're talking to Dr. Lavonne Shaw about intimacy in our relationships. And I know it's kind of like a taboo topic,
Yeah.
which we do here. We do on the Empower Hour. We tackle taboo topics.
Well, that's me.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, but Hanifa, for sure, and me too, I thought it was a good idea to tackle this subject because it is so taboo and it is so, you know, people shy away from it.
Yeah,
so
and people
much.
are having issues in their relationships.
Right.
But it's like Miss Shaw just mentioned, they don't want to talk about it because there's an embarrassment attached to it. It's like, I don't want you to know my business, yeah, you know?
Right.
So I thought, like, let's talk about it because maybe someone may not even call in, but just them listening in,
Yeah.
they're learning and gaining something that can actually save their relationship.
Yes, I like the part about sitting down and actually sharing your sexual desires with each other.
Honestly.
Honestly, like writing them down and what's your desire, what do you want? Because I think that that pulls all the curtains down.
It does, and I'll tell you like this. Do you have yearly evaluations at your job?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you should have yearly evaluations in your relationship because as you change, your desire changes,
Mm-hmm.
your fantasy change.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to add to the list, take away from the list. Different things happen, so different things are to be implemented.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I've learned some things today. And again, this is Dr. Lavonne Shaw. She has 3 books out, 2.5 books out on the subject. So definitely get her books.
You can get them on her website.
On her website, and
Yes.
we'll put the link up.
Yes.
So you guys can have the link to and then if they wanted to like book your services.
It's on the website. I travel. I went to Paris last year, Bermuda last year, Cancun this year. I think I'm going to Thailand and maybe Bali this year.
Wow.
So,
All
yeah,
those
These
people
are
need help.
conferences.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they reach out to you all over the world.
all over the world.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much,
Yes,
Dr.
thank
Shaw.
you. This
You're
was
welcome.
fun.
Yeah.
And you made it very light to talk about, so we appreciate that.
I love my assignment.
All right, family. We're coming to you next week on another serious matter about abuse. Abuse in relationships. So we're moving from, pleasure to abuse, but all of it's necessary to talk about. So tune in next week. Join us on Facebook under the Empower Hour Talk Show. Join us on YouTube under Miss Free the People. And tune in and share the information with all your people, your sphere of influence. And until next week, take care of each other out there. Peace.